Hello, rock and roll. Hey there. Welcome back to Jay's Rock and Roll Stories. I am your host, Jay. This is just a little bonus episode. Just a little bonus, how do you do, one-off episode here. And we're talking about the 1973 Keith Moon stand-in of Scott Halpin. Yes, the drummer Keith Moon couldn't go on, so someone from the audience took his seat. What does that mean? Okay, so the Who kick off their 1973 U.S. tour, and they are supporting their newly released, already a hit album, Quadrophenia. It is the very first night, the opening night of the tour at the Cow Palace in Daly City, California, which is a suburb of San Francisco. Okay, first I want to talk to you about the album itself, Quadrophenia. So if you have never heard the album Quadrophenia, it was written by Pete Townshend. It's sort of like a semi-autobiographical concept album written by Pete Townshend, the singer, songwriter, guitar player. It's about a young pill-popping mod who seems to be coming apart at the seams. A sort of exclamation from the young main character, Jimmy. He says, schizophrenic? No, I'm quadrophonic. It's sort of it kind of plays into this idea that the main character, Jimmy, his personality is split into four distinct warring aspects that sort of mirror the four members of the band, The Who. Okay, so in England, it was sort of easily understood. Mod culture is a sort of British culture, you know, it's easily recognizable. Back in the States, it's not as understood. If you don't know what I'm talking about, mod, then go look it up. This is not what that episode is about. I'm just saying, in the United States, there is no innate understanding of mod culture at the time in 1973 United States. Okay, so the thought of that and the combined with the technical failures that the Who were having in England during the Quadrophenia tour really gave them a lot of stress. So what was happening during the English part of the tour, on the songs Won't Get Fooled Again and Barbara O'Reilly, those two songs, Pete Townshend had pre-recorded synthesizer tapes that would play while Keith Moon, the drummer, would play drums too. And the problem was that sometimes they wouldn't come on as cued properly. They wouldn't come on late, they'd come on too early, or they just wouldn't come on. So the beginning of the tour it's a little stressful. So the opening night, November 20th, 1973, Cow Palace, Daly City, California. And it's a little arena, indoor arena. It sits about 12,000. You know, your every city has a little sports arena, that kind of thing. So I never knew this. I read this in this book I was reading about Keith Moon. It talks about how Keith Moon, he would get so nervous before shows. He had stage fright, and he would eventually throw up. And what would he do after throwing up? He would drink, of course. Why? If you have an empty stomach, of course you drink, don't you? So anyway, this time, not only did he drink, he also took PCP with this woman he met shortly before the concert. And there's some speculation as to what he took, what he ingested. No one really knows. I mean, there's a lot of different stories what he took, but based on what Pete Townshend said, he took ketamine and drank brandy. The sort of pedestrian Google search will tell you that he took horse tranquilizers. But according to the 1999 Tony Fletcher biography on Keith Moon, simply titled Moon, that I have right here next to me states that the woman he ingested with almost immediately collapsed and had to go to the hospital. The band goes on. Keith, while he's playing drums, Keith is speeding up. He's slowing down like a broken tape machine, like that. Roger Daltrey, lead singer, witnesses hearing this. He jokes with the crowd, saying, "And now for you who have come the first night of the tour, you won't get fooled again." Here we go. And they start the song, "Won't Get Fooled Again." Halfway through the song, Keith Moon slumps over, face first, slumps over on his drums. The roadie, Mick Double, goes, his name is Mick Double, he goes to lift him up, but it's obvious that Keith is completely passed out. And Keith Moon is carried backstage, and they give him a cold shower, and they give him an injection of cortisol injection. All right, so Pete Townsend is joking with the crowd. He says, "Don't worry, we're gonna give him a good custard enema. Don't worry about it, everyone." All right, but then he realizes the situation is actually quite serious, and he states to the crowd, "All right, without him, we're not a group. You're just gonna have to wait." So 20 minutes goes by, nothing's happening, 20 minutes, no music, you just, and then the band decides to do a couple of songs as a trio. So it's John Entwistle on bass, Pete Townsend on guitar, and Roger Daltrey singing, no drums, just the three of them. They do a couple songs with that. Finally, Keith Moon clambers back to the stage, and they're about to do Magic Bus. So he grabs the claves, the little sticks, he grabs those, and they go into the intro of Magic Bus. But only after a few bars of that song, he collapses again. All right. He's carried backstage, and eventually they took him to the hospital, where his stomach is pumped, and it turned out he had taken PCP. That's what was in his guts, angel dust. At the time of 1973, PCP was used, it's no longer used as this, but was used as an animal tranquilizer specifically for agitated monkeys and gorillas. All right, so here's a line I like from this Tony Fletcher book. It says, "Whether out of genuine amnesia or an unwillingness to confess to his stupidity, Keith never offered any recollection or taking anything at all." I don't know what they're talking about, right? So The Who showed no signs of any kind of anger at Keith on stage for letting the band down. Later, it was said that Roger Daltrey was angry, embarrassed, let down. But Pete Townsend was more like, well, it was going to happen sometime, So anyway, Pete Townsend asks the audience, "Can anyone play drums? I need somebody good." So he's asking the audience, can someone come in and play drums for Keith Moon, right? So upstage is pushed a young boy named Scott Halpin. He was an art student at the San Francisco Community College, young guy, and he had only been playing drums for like a year or so. And I think Bill Graham was there. He said, "Can you do it?" He said, "Yeah, I can do it." So they get him on stage, and they give him a shot of brandy. They say, here you go, have a little shot. And Pete Townsend looks at him, and he says, "Don't worry. I'll cue you what to do," right? All right, so he gets behind the drum set. It's crazy, right? So it's like you went to the Who concert last night, and someone was like, "Wow, awesome! The Who concert? Where'd you sit?" I sat behind the drum seat. So Scott Halpin, he is he actually pulled his weight. He plays 3 songs, and later he said that I only played 3 songs, but oh my God, I was so beat. He talks about how Keith Moon's drum set was ridiculous. Like the snares were the size of like, or the toms and the snares were the size of like bass drums. Everything was kind of connected together. You couldn't move anything. So the first song that they played was Smokestack Lightning. They also played Spoonful, 2 old blues songs, and then they played Naked Eye, which was kind of a relatively new song for The Who. So it went well, he pulled it off, and that was towards the end of the concert. They did 3 songs. He stood up, he stood next to Roger Daltrey, and everyone bowed, thank you. He went backstage and he kind of partied with the band, drank some beers, had some snacks, got a free jacket, which he says was stolen later on the way home from the concert. He was promised $1,000 for work that he did with The Who, and he said he never got that check. But he did say that he received a very honest, sincere thank you letter from Pete Townsend. It's kind of sad. This guy who saved the day, who was the rock star, that really is a 15 minutes of fame. He just recently died of a brain tumor. Scott Halpin, R.I.P. Thank you for helping out The Who. So going on from there, they really kind of cover this up. Like, no, everything's okay. A journalist from the British magazine Record Mirror came in and wanted to talk about what had happened that night. And basically they told the journalist, due to exhaustion of jet lag and not getting enough sleep. But Keith's fine. Don't worry about it. So, fortunately for Keith, he was okay, because that girl that he partied with, she got really sick. She had to go to the hospital. She almost died. But anyway, so fortunately for Keith, he had a night off. Actually, they had 4 nights off until the next concert. And to recover, he basically stayed Keith Moon spent those days in the hotel, staring at the TV, recuperating, glued to the hotel TV screen. And the next show The Who played was on the 25th of November at the Forum in Los Angeles. Keith Moon was back to normal, sharp as a tack. Roger Daltrey, the lead singer, kind of teasing a little bit on the whole the whole situation about Keith Moon. When they introduced the song Bellboy from the album Quadrophenia, Roger Daltrey says, "Here's the geezer that gets drowned every night and it's not even in water." Keith Moon stands up, takes a bow, and says, "Thank you, Atlanta," while they're in Los Angeles. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up right here. So that's basically sort of a little day in the life of just rock and roll, right? And cool thing at the end of the year, 1973, Rolling Stone put out an article that was Scott Halpin, the drummer. He won the Pickup Player of the Year award. That's pretty cool. Anyway, that was a day in the life of good old rock and roll. So that was your a little bonus party there. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to Jay's Rock and Roll Stories. We are on Instagram at Jay's Rock and Roll Stories. You can contact the show at jaysrockandrollstories@gmail.com. They're on Facebook as well. And guess what? I will see you on Tuesday for a brand new episode. See you later.